So, this is how it begins. Not with an announcement. Not with a press release. But with silence. Deafening, deliberate silence. Caitlin Clark, the brightest star to grace the WNBA in decades, didn't need to issue a statement. She didn't hold a press conference. Instead, she let her actions speak louder than any microphone ever could. She walked away from the Indiana Fever's medical staff, cutting the cord, severing the trust, and rewriting the power dynamic between player and franchise. When your franchise player refuses to let your trainers touch her, you don't have an injury problem. You have a rebellion. The message was unmistakable. Clark, the face of a revolution, had seen enough. From groin injuries to media whispers, she made it clear she no longer trusts the people paid to keep her healthy. This wasn't about caution, it was protest. Behind closed doors, sources revealed that Clark didn't just seek a second opinion. She deliberately avoided sharing updates with the team doctors. The silence became the loudest alarm in Indiana Fever history. For a league desperate to keep her on the court, this was a PR earthquake. What made it even more damning was how calculated it all felt. Clark's refusal wasn't emotional, it was strategic. Like a queen in chess, she moved without explanation, forcing the entire board to react. Suddenly, the Fever were scrambling. Coach Stephanie White admitted she hadn't even spoken to her own trainers about Clark's outside consultations. That's not miscommunication, that's a breakdown in leadership. And the scariest part? This might only be the beginning. For fans who watched Clark transform arenas into sellout temples, this move was unthinkable. She wasn't just Indiana's best player, she was Indiana basketball. But stars only shine when they are fueled by belief. In themselves, their team, and their care. Clark's decision to pull the plug on the team's medical oversight is a warning shot to the entire WNBA. If the biggest name in women's sports no longer trusts her franchise, what happens next? The answer may already be unfolding behind the scenes, and it's not pretty. Because when you peel back the curtain, what you see isn't just a player walking away from her trainers. It's a system fractured, outdated, and dangerously ill-equipped to support greatness. Clark didn't just walk away from treatment, she walked away from a philosophy that had failed her again and again, until protecting herself became the only option. The scars tell the story. Caitlin Clark suffered 4 muscle-related injuries in just her rookie season. This isn't bad luck, it's medical negligence wrapped in corporate gloss. A groin strain, a quad issue, another groin strain. For a player who never missed a single college game, this is a horror story in slow motion. And the most chilling part? Each injury came closer to the last, like a countdown to collapse. The body doesn't lie, and Caitlin Clark's body was screaming for help. But help didn't come from Indiana's bench. It came from outside consultations, from specialists in New York, from the whispers of elite doctors who saw what the Fever refused to acknowledge. Clark's injuries weren't just happening, they were avoidable. The timeline reveals a cycle of rushing, re-aggravating, and repeating. May 3rd, May 26th, June, July 15th. Again and again, the Indiana Fever sent her back onto the court unready, unhealed, and unprotected. The evidence was damning. Fans pointed to broadcast commentary, noting that Clark had returned from her quad injury without ever practicing at full speed. Let that sink in. The league's most valuable player was shoved back into the spotlight after just one full-speed drill. Why? Ratings, ticket sales, pressure. Whatever the excuse, the result was disaster. She re-injured herself almost immediately. And that's when Clark drew the line. That's when she decided enough was enough. What's emerging isn't just a pattern of soft tissue injuries. It's a story of neglect, mismanagement, and a player forced to take her own care into her own hands. It's a roadmap of institutional failure. Every injury tells the same story. Rushed recovery, incomplete rehab, and a medical team more concerned with optics than outcomes. For Caitlin Clark, who entered the league as a generational icon, this betrayal isn't just physical, it's personal. She trusted Indiana to care for her. Instead, they treated her like a tool to be wielded, not a legacy to be protected. And when that trust breaks, there's no going back. That's why this isn't just about rehab anymore. It's about respect. Clark's refusal to cooperate with the Fever's trainers is a mutiny, a public declaration that she will no longer sacrifice her health for a system that doesn't value her longevity. In that decision, she's not just saving herself. She's rewriting the rules for every future WNBA superstar who watches this drama unfold. But the biggest shock didn't come from the locker room. It came from the tunnels of the Barclays Center. On July 22, after a devastating loss to the New York Liberty, Clark was spotted in what appeared to be a business meeting, not a casual chat. Alongside her agent, she engaged in a serious, deliberate conversation with Liberty head coach Sandy Brondello and franchise stars Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu. The photos leaked. The internet erupted. This wasn't a rumor. This was a warning. What were they discussing? We may never know the exact words, but the presence of her agent said enough. This wasn't a post-game hug. This was strategic positioning. The optics were crystal clear. The Liberty are ready to rescue, ready to rebuild, ready to treat Caitlin Clark like the royalty she is. And while Indiana spirals in chaos, other franchises are already preparing their pitches. Make no mistake, when a superstar like Clark starts looking elsewhere, it's only a matter of time. Indiana knows it. That's why the silence from Fever leadership has become deafening. No denial, no clarification, just vague medical updates and defensive coach interviews. Stephanie White says she hasn't spoken to trainers. The team says there's no timetable. What they don't say is the one thing that matters. The system is failing, and they are watching it crumble in real time. Meanwhile, Clark is building her fortress, visiting New York physicians, coordinating her own recovery plans. She's created a team outside the team, a network of professionals who don't answer to the Fever, but to her. In doing so, she's flipped the WNBA power structure on its head. She's no longer the player taking orders. She's the boss writing her own comeback arc, and that's why this feels so much bigger than basketball. What makes this story so heartbreaking is that it didn't have to be this way. The Fever had a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Clark gave them everything: sold-out games, national headlines, a playoff berth, and millions in new revenue. All she asked for in return was trust, safety, and a system that let her thrive. Instead, they gave her a coaching overhaul, a medical disaster, and a game plan that tried to shrink her into a role player. That's not just failure, that's betrayal. Remember Christy Sides? She may not have been perfect, but she understood one sacred truth: you don't bench brilliance. Sides gave Clark the ball, let her run the show, and Clark rewarded her with historic rookie stats and a winning season. Stephanie White, on the other hand, wants her to play ball, to diminish the very skill set that made her legendary. That's not coaching. That's sabotage. You don't draft Magic Johnson and hand the ball to a role player. You don't ask Steph Curry to stand in the corner. And you don't take Caitlin Clark, the most gifted passer and shot creator in women's basketball, and tell her to wait her turn. The offense is hers. The system should orbit around her. When it doesn't, the results are exactly what we're seeing: chaos, confusion, and collapse. And the scoreboard tells the same story. Without Clark, the Fever are 4-6. Yes, they've had flashes of competence, but flashes don't win championships. What wins is vision, leadership, and a system built around its star. Clark isn't just a good player. She's the difference between a title contender and a team that barely scrapes into the playoffs. And yet, Indiana keeps trying to prove it can win without her. That arrogance will be their downfall. The truth is, Clark doesn't owe them anything. She's already given more than they deserved. And now, she's reclaiming control. When fans ask why she's hurt, why she's distant, why she's choosing her own doctors, it's not drama, it's finality. She's done. Done with empty promises. Done with being a pawn. Done with sacrificing her body for a franchise that never protected it in the first place. And now the consequences are unfolding in broad daylight. With each passing day, the Indiana Fever are not just losing games, they are losing the trust of their cornerstone. Clark has transformed from rookie sensation to WNBA icon in under a year, yet she's being treated like a disposable asset, a pawn to be moved at convenience. Here's the truth the Fever still haven't grasped: Caitlin Clark doesn't need the Indiana Fever. The Indiana Fever desperately need her. And that desperation is showing in every awkward interview, every vague press release, and every fan who can't help but notice the joy has disappeared from her game. Make no mistake, this isn't just about injuries. This is about betrayal. You can hear it in Clark's recent interviews, words polished, but eyes speaking volumes. The same player who once energized the court with unshakable confidence now walks with the weariness of someone forced to carry more than a basketball. She's carrying a broken system, a crumbling franchise, and the impossible expectation that she must fix it all while playing injured. Somewhere along the way, she realized that isn't her responsibility. What happens when the league's brightest light begins to flicker? Not because of ability, but because of exhaustion. Physical, emotional, institutional? Caitlin Clark is 23 years old, and already speaking like a veteran nearing burnout. "This is the first time I haven't felt like a young body," she confessed during All-Star Weekend. That wasn't a soundbite, it was a cry for help. A declaration that the system built to support her has instead started hollowing her out from the inside. If Indiana doesn't act fast, it won't just be her body that leaves, it will be her legacy. And still, the Fever seem to believe they can outwait the storm. That if they remain quiet long enough, Clark will come back, healed, ready, willing to fall in line. But that's not how revolutions work. Revolutions don't rewind. They erupt. Clark isn't looking for reconciliation. She's looking for freedom. Freedom from medical manipulation, freedom from coaching philosophies that dim her brilliance, freedom from a franchise that treats generational talent like a replaceable part in a malfunctioning machine. Other teams are already circling. The Liberty, the Aces, franchises with the infrastructure, the leadership, and, most importantly, the respect to give Clark the career she deserves. Meanwhile, Indiana clings to a past that no longer exists, a past where Caitlin Clark needed them. That illusion is dead. The power has shifted. Clark now has the platform, the brand, the leverage. And if the Fever don't give her a reason to stay, soon they'll be remembered not as the team that drafted Caitlin Clark, but as the team that lost her. That day is coming fast. You can feel it in every empty word from the front office, in every photo of Clark watching from the bench, expression unreadable, in every fan tweet that says, "I wouldn't blame her. She left." The conversation has changed. It's no longer about whether Clark is injured. It's about whether Indiana can be trusted to protect her, to build around her, to deserve her. And as of right now, the answer is dangerously unclear. This is no longer just a sports story. It's a cautionary tale, one that echoes across every professional league, every locker room, every front office. When you fail to care for your stars, when you treat icons like liabilities, don't be surprised when they walk away. And when they do, don't ask why. The signs were always there. Groin strains, trainer silence, emotional sidelines, whispered meetings with rival coaches. This isn't sudden. It's surgical, deliberate, calculated. Clark isn't throwing a tantrum. She's making a statement. She's done playing hurt for people who won't protect her. Done being the marketing machine while her body breaks down. Done sacrificing her future for an organization that refuses to see her as more than a headline. Something chilling. This is the first time I haven't felt like a young body that can run around and sprint every day. That wasn't a soundbite, it was a confession. A 23-year-old in her athletic prime, already feeling the weight of being misused. Her tone was reflective, her words haunting. Decisions, and those decisions change everything. Right now, the Indiana Fever are playing with borrowed time. Each game Clark sits out is another chapter written in a story that could end with her departure. Teams like the Liberty are watching, waiting, building. When Clark becomes available, it won't just be a free agency battle. It'll be a league-altering war. One that the Fever are already losing without even knowing it. Here's the final truth. The one no one in Indiana wants to hear. You either build around Caitlin Clark because they left her no choice,